Hi guys, I hope you're doing well. Today we'll see the marital rape status in India. So there are no laws for marital rape in India and it is still an acceptable concept. Marital rape means husband forcefully imposing himself on his wife without her consent to have sexual intercourse with her and the wife being above the age of 18 years. So it is said that marriages are made in heaven, but we need to go somewhat deeper to look into the reality. In many marriages, dreams are shattered when the wife is subject to frequent verbal and sexual assault. When she takes her woes to the police, they refuse to take cognizance and to file the report, and even the Supreme Court says that they cannot change the law for one person. And it is disheartening to know that India is one of the 36 countries that still have not criminalized marital rape. Also, we need to look at the definition of rape to understand the concept of marital rape better. So, the rape is codified in section 375 of IPC. So, rape includes all forms of sexual assault involving non consensual intercourse with a woman. However, it is important to note that there is an exception to this section, exception 2, which exempts unwilling sexual intercourse between a husband and wife, and it is not considered a rape. So, wife being above the age of 18. So, earlier it was 15 years and it was shifted to 18 years in Independent Thought versus Union of India. So, this exemption 2, it provides protection to such acts and prevents marital rape to be criminalized. It is illogical that man can be convicted of rape of a 20-year-old girl and he will be allowed scot-free if he is married to her. Section 376 of IPC provides punishment for rape, which is between 7 years to 10 years of imprisonment. Also, there are certain instances where husband can be criminally prosecuted for the offense of marital rape. It is that if the wife is between 12 to 18 years, it 2 years and fine. Also, rape of a judicially separated wife offense is punishable with imprisonment up to 2 years and fine. And rape of wife above 18 years is not punishable, as we have seen above. So, rape by a husband is seen as a lesser crime than a rape by the husband. But a rape is rape, irrespective of the identity of the perpetrator, that he is the husband or a stranger, and the age of the survivor, if she is below 18 or above 18. A woman who is raped by a stranger lives with the memory of a horrible attack. A woman who is raped by her husband lives with a rapist. Our penal laws were handed by the British, and they have by and large remained the same and untouched even after 73 years of independence. And the English laws have been amended and marital rape was criminalized back in 1991 in England. In this topic, people fall into two broad groups. Either they are for the criminalization of marital rape and they're against the criminalization of marital rape. So in this segment, we'll look into the arguments advanced by both the sides. So people who are against the criminalization of marital rape, they put forward the arguments like criminalizing marital rape may destabilize the institution of marriage. They say that it will create absolute anarchy in families and a country sustaining itself because of the family platform which upholds family values. So that is why criminalization of marital rape is not the viable solution in our country. Also, they say that the consent is difficult to prove and there would be a lack of evidence. So a wife's consent would be too hard to prove because the spouses would have had consensual sex numerous times. So only CCTVs can provide enough evidence and all that. Also, there's an argument that marriage implies perpetual consent. So the idea that once a woman is married, she hands over the never-ending continuous sexual consent to her husband is deeply embedded in our society. So there was an interview which was conducted by Scoop Whoop in the streets of Delhi. And it came out that there were various men who don't even think that such a thing called as marital rape even exists. The fourth argument, which is advanced, is that marital rape law can be misused. So a law criminalizing marital rape can become an easy tool to harass the husbands, is what they think. Also, this argument has been used time and again for various laws and acts like Domestic Violence Act, Dowry Prohibition Act, and Section 498A of the IPC, which criminalizes physical and mental cruelty against a woman by her husband or his family. The state says that it doesn't want to intervene between the private life of couples, and it is to promote privacy and harmony in marital rape, which discourage the state from interfering in their relationships. Also, another argument which is put forward is that wife can take recourse under Domestic Violence Act 498A and other laws such as assault and battery, which provides a raped wife with avenues for recourse that are less fraught than bringing rape charges against her husbands. Is another argument which prevails in the country is that because of the poverty, illiteracy in a country, such ideas such as marital rape cannot be a viable solution. So here the basis of this argument is that marital rape cannot work in India as it works in the West due to the stark cultural and socio-economic differences between the two regions. So the argument is that social customs and religious beliefs combined with the staggering illiteracy create an environment wherein marital rape cannot be criminalized, seemingly because people aren't ready for it. Also, they say that this country has its own unique problems due to various factors like literacy, lack of financial empowerment of the majority of females, also the mindset of the society. And these should be considered carefully before criminalizing marital rape. So those who are for the criminalization of marital rape, they put forward the argument that it is violative of Article 14 of the Constitution. So Article 14 provides for equality before law and equal protection of laws. So for this applicability of Article 14, the two conditions must be relied on. That is intelligible differentia and rational nexus. So the exception to this section 375 of rape discriminates against married and unmarried women, violating her fundamental right under Article 14 of the Constitution. So this law clearly discriminates between married women above the age of 18 and those who are below the age of 18. Also, this is violative of Article 21. Why? Because Article 21 of the Constitution guarantees protection of life and personal liberty, also the right to live in human dignity and the right to sexual privacy. So the Supreme Court has included the sanctity of women and freedom to make choices related to sexual activity under the ambit of Article 21. And this exception clearly violates Article 21. Also, this exception of 375 in the Indian Penal Code is inconsistent with and violative of Article 1 of the United Nations Declaration on the Elimination of Violence against Women. It defines violence against women as any act of gender-based violence that results in or is likely to result in physical, sexual or mental harm or suffering to women, including threats of such acts, coercion, occurring in public or private life. So this exception is inconsistent with this Article 1. So a no is a no, and every man and legal system of India need to stop at that. We say that in a marriage, consent is implied. So if marriage as an institution requires man to be able to rape his wife whenever he wants, then we need to reconsider our views on the institution of marriage itself. He needs to have your consent every single time. And just as your right to life is absolute, and so is the autonomy over your body, and you don't lose such autonomy post marriage. So this is your right to autonomy over the body is absolute. Also, the basic human right comes above the idea of a family. If actually the fear of marriages falling apart is what is stopping the government from criminalizing marital rape, then the government actually acknowledges the fact that women actually face sexual violence from their husbands, and women will want to end sexual violence they face day after day within their marriage. And at which point it becomes very important to ask that by placing so much value on family and such institution, and by pushing for status quo that no such law should be included, then whose rights is the government protecting? The husbands raping or the wives being raped? As we have seen, they say that the consent is difficult to prove. It would be hard to prove the lack of consent, but that is the case even in live-in relationships and other rape cases too. Marital status of women doesn't nullify the evidences of rape. Just because it is difficult to prove, it doesn't mean that we won't have a law for it. And we'll hide behind the sanctity of Hindu marriage. So the laws of criminal jurisprudence will still apply. The onus is still on the women to prove beyond reasonable doubt that she was raped. So let us not fall for this rhetoric of TV cameras and men having to prove consent. So they say that marital rape law can be misused. So only because the law can be misused, it does not mean that law should not exist. If the logic behind not making a law against marital rape is the possibility of it being misused, then why do you have to make laws against domestic violence? The possibility of false cases does not mean you turn a blind eye to those who are not and await justice. The state says that it doesn't want to intervene between the private life of couples. And the courts say that they don't want the law in the bedroom, despite the fact that you're not allowed to kill a person in the bedroom or slap your wife in the bedroom. Only thing the criminal law has an exception for here is raping a wife in her bedroom. So law needs to step in when the bedroom is one's and not the other's, and the other person needs the law to come in. As we have seen, basic human rights must come above the idea of understanding of a family. Also saying that wife can take recourse in Domestic Violence Act of 498A, which is cruelty, is also problematic, because section 122 of Indian Evidence Act prohibits the disclosure of communication during marriage in court unless one spouse is being prosecuted for a crime by the other spouse. And since the Domestic Violence Act is a civil remedy, it provides civil remedies, spousal communication would be inadmissible in the court. Furthermore, these acts give a woman a recourse to just remove themselves from this violent situation, but neither does anything to deter the violent behavior itself. And simply granting a divorce on the basis of cruelty still provides the perpetrator with the freedom to marry another woman and subject her to the same. Also, it is cited that most Indian women are not financially independent and they'll be unable to survive outside this framework of marriage. So here the state is obligated under the constitution as well as its international obligations to provide such assistance in order to be able to survive outside of the context of marriage. And we need to make this a constitutional society and not one run by patriarchy. We'll have a look at the statistics that will prove that wives need urgent legal protection by removing the exception 2 of section 375 of IPC. And it is the need of the hour to criminalize marital rape. So, one third of Indian men, that is 33% of Indian men, admitted of having forced sexual act on their wife. Also, a study by UN Population Fund stated that more than two-thirds of married women in India between the age of 15 and 49 have been beaten, raped, and forced to provide sex. There are a few judgments by the Supreme Court of India in this matter. So, in Bodhiswatta Gautam versus Shubhra Chakrabarti, the right to live in human dignity was established. So, in this case, Supreme Court held that the rape is a crime against basic human rights and is also violative of victims' most cherished of the fundamental right. Also, it stated that the married woman too has the right to live in human dignity, right to privacy, and rights over her own body. So, marriage cannot take away these rights. The right to sexual privacy was established in K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India, in which Supreme Court held that the right to privacy as a fundamental right and includes decisional privacy, reflected by an ability to make intimate decisions, primarily consisting of one's sexual or procreative nature and decisions in respect of intimate relations. In Nimeshbhai Bharatbhai Desai versus State of Gujarat, the court examined the question that whether a husband forcing his wife to indulge in oral sex would amount to rape punishable under section 376 of IPC. But it was held that a husband forcing his wife to indulge in oral sex would amount to cruelty under 498A and not rape. Also, in the state of Maharashtra versus Madhukar Narayan, Supreme Court referred to the right to privacy over one's body. It was decided that a prostitute had the right to refuse sexual relations. So, all other rapes, all other stranger rapes have been criminalized. Then, why not marital rape? It is the need of the hour to criminalize marital rape. We'll have a look at the solutions of this problem. So, first, at the very least, this marital rape exception, the exception 2 of section 375, needs to be eliminated, making marital rape a criminal offense and removing marriage as a defense to rape. Also, the state needs to bolster efficient police practices. Many a times, police officers refuse to file cases, so in such cases, the state needs to establish standard procedures for the police regarding cases of violence against girls and women. The support mechanism should also be established by the state. Many women, particularly in rural areas of India, will not report sexual violence to authorities because of their financial dependence on their husbands. They fear that if they are separated from their husbands, they will be left with no alternative support system. As such, the state should establish widespread and accessible crisis centers where female victims of violence and rape can receive shelter, medical and psychological attention, legal assistance, and other needed support systems. And an essential factor in combating marital rape is the fight against deep rooted stigma and stereotypes concerning women. So, the state needs to prioritize a national movement to fight and eliminate such patriarchal stereotypes by targeted awareness raising campaigns. Also, along with educating girls on their rights, it is very important to educate men and boys. To combat marital rape, we should amend the divorce laws of a country by making marital rape as a legal ground to take divorce from an abusive marriage. The changes to such divorce laws by making marital rape as a ground for divorce will definitely be a great relief to all the victims of marital rape who will legally be able to take an action against their respective spouses. I hope you are clear with the concept of marital rape and its status in India.